Hi, I'm author N.D. Jones. Welcome to an introduction to the Styles of Love Trilogy, a contemporary romance. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory on this series. It started off with a novella entitled The Perks of Higher Education and Office Romance. I wrote that novella for the Seduction in the Suit anthology. When I finished it, I had no intention of writing anything more in that particular world. However, a friend, Dee, from Goodreads, and my colleague, Dania, after reading the story, they asked me the exact same question, which was, where's the rest of Malcolm and Sky's love story? And the question was valid. It made a lot of sense based on how I ended the story. But I also felt that it could have been more. I could have added a lot more to Malcolm and Sky's story. The second bit of feedback that I received was actually from my colleague Dania, and she wanted to know where was Angie and Sean's story. Now let's back up a little bit. So Malcolm and Sky are my hero and heroine from the Perks of Higher Ed. And when I wrote that story, I introduced a secondary couple, and that's Sean and Angie. Angie is the older sister to Malcolm, and her husband is Sean. And so in the Perks of Higher Ed, I established that they had some marital tension going on in their relationship. And so when Dania read the story, she liked that couple enough to want to know where's the rest of their story. And so from the feedback from the D and Dania, I decided to expand on the Perks of Higher Ed into a series, and it resulted in 3 books. So the first book in the series is again a novella, The Perks of Higher Ed, which will be released this Halloween. The second book in the series, and it is a continuation, as I said, of the story of Malcolm and Sky. It finishes their love story, and that is entitled The Wish of Christmas Present. And that story, which is a full-length novel, will release December 21st of this year. So the first 2 stories are all about Malcolm and Sky. The third story is all about Angie and Sean. So as I said, Angie's the older sister to Malcolm. She and Sean, they've been married 20 years, and they have a lot going on in their marriage. And again, I introduced them in the Perks of Higher Ed. So what I would like to do is to read the very first section of chapter 1 from the Perks of Higher Ed. In my opinion, it really frames the Styles of Love trilogy nicely. It introduces Malcolm and Sky, and it also introduces Sean and Angie. So what I have here before me, I have my tablet here. You can't see it. And it's open to the part of the book I would like to share with you. So we're going to begin. Now, you can, might want to have a little fun or laugh at my voice. I tend to do this when I want to listen to the story as a form of editing my story. And so to make it fun for me, I take on the persona of my characters and I do voices and everything. So they aren't the best, but I'm going to do them. If nothing else, I'll be entertained. So chapter 1, The Perks of Higher Ed. No, come on. Malcolm sat across from Angie and Sean in their living room, baffled while his sister was giving him a hard time about his request. Why not? Did you really just whine those 4 words at me? Yeah, he did. He's either devolved into a loser of epic proportions or the woman he wants is smoking hot. Okay, 2 things. Malcolm raised his middle finger at his brother-in-law, Sean. 1, no one says smoking hot anymore, and the only loser in the family is you. 2, I shifted to his older sister, and his index finger joined the middle one. You owe me a favor. For the record, Dr. Styles, there's 3 things. Sean took hold of Angie's hand, where it rested on the sofa cushion between them, brought it to his lips, and kissed the palm. His sister's dark brown eyes no longer shimmered with faith and happiness, but flickered with shadows and disappointment when she looked at her husband. Malcolm wouldn't remind Angie why she owed him a favor, not with Sean in the room with them. Some days he still wanted to go after the guy for what he'd done to Angie, but he promised to keep his temper under control and his fists away from Sean's face. Angie didn't return Sean's smile, but she did reclaim her hand before returning her attention to Malcolm. A degree in African American history doesn't mean I'm weak in math. Malcolm's response to Sean's playful jibe came a touch too late for the comeback to sound unforced or to cover the harsh tenor of his voice. I know, man, I didn't mean anything by it. I was just, well, playing with you, like old times. Yeah, Malcolm knew. Their 18 years of friendship and Sean's 20 years of marriage were tested and damn near ruined because Sean Franklin, Esquire, couldn't keep his dick out of his former legal assistant. The 20-something University of Buffalo law graduate thought the father of three would leave his wife and children for her. That kind of relationship had the wrong ingredients for sustainability. For Malcolm, cheating and lying weren't sexy and romantic. They were poorly executed tropes committed by people without creativity, but with an inflated sense of entitlement. Malcolm had no interest in that kind of office romance. People got hurt. People like Angela Stiles Franklin. Listen, I came here to talk to my sister. For uncomfortable seconds, Sean stared at Malcolm, a mixture of guilt, anger, and understanding in his eyes. At 6'3", the civil rights attorney oozed confidence and had built his legal career fighting injustice. Until 2 months ago, Malcolm respected the hell out of the guy as a person and as a professional. Now, he wavered between supporting Sean and Angie as they struggled to rebuild their shattered marriage and beating the big man's ass for breaking Angie's heart. Right. We don't talk anymore. I get it. Sean turned to Angie, her 5'3" frame set in profile to the tall man, and just looked at her. Her skin, rich and dark, like Malcolm's, radiated the same ageless beauty as their mother and aunts. The women in his family were unmatched in intelligence, stubbornness, and loyalty. Malcolm watched his brother-in-law, who sighed and shook his head when he shifted his gaze back to him. I know I messed up with Angie, with the kids, and with you. I'm trying to fix things. He didn't have a response that wouldn't have Angie snorting her displeasure at him, so Malcolm remained silent and waited to see what his brother-in-law would say or do next. Sean kissed Angie's cheek, a quick peck. He knew his brother-in-law almost as well as he knew himself. Sean's kiss had been a calculated display of affection. Malcolm got the message. More importantly, so did Angie. Sean Franklin, the cheating bastard he turned into, wouldn't give up on his marriage and wife, no matter how anyone else felt about his mistakes, including Malcolm. He itched to punch him. Yet Malcolm couldn't fault the man's spine and fighting spirit. The two attributes kept Sean's law firm busy and high profile. U.S. News, best lawyers, ranked Franklin and Associates among the best regional law firms in civil rights law in Buffalo, New York. Pushing to his feet, Sean nodded to Malcolm on his way out of the living room. A couple of minutes later, he heard sounds coming from the kitchen where Sean had turned on the television. From what Malcolm could hear, the Mets were down 1 run to the Phillies. The second week of the baseball season was in full swing, and he couldn't give a damn about the sport or the early start to the season. He might prefer spring to fall, but football was his sport of choice. One of these days, you're going to have to forgive him. Have you? The house smelled like a flower garden. The sweet fragrance of hyacinth overpowered the clove scent of the dozen red roses on the marble top coffee table in front of Angie. His sister liked flowers as much as any woman, but Sean's expensive floral arrangements amounted to slapping a band-aid over a gaping wound. Angie's bare feet lifted to her leather reclining sofa, wide and plush and still in good condition, considering the way Angie and Sean's children, 14, 10, and 4, sprawled over the furniture with no care or understanding of the cost. Malcolm and Angie's parents, Charles and Kimberly Stiles, couldn't afford half the items in either of the siblings' homes. The Stiles children, like too many of their East Side Buffalo neighbors, had grown up in a household one paycheck from living on the streets. I don't want to talk about my marriage. We didn't come here for that anyway. Let me see the brochure. Malcolm guessed he wasn't much better than his nephew and nieces with the way he'd plopped them to the ottoman instead of the chair behind it. He handed his sister the brochure and didn't interrupt as she read. A decade may have separated them, but Angie never treated him like an annoying younger brother, even when he acted like one. No more than she confused the role of a sister with that of a mother. SUNY Summer Leadership Retreat. Really? What? You've never shown any interest in higher ed leadership beyond being African American Studies Department Chair. You don't want to be a chief academic officer or dean, although if you keep researching, publishing, and presenting your papers, you could. And you certainly have no aspiration to claim a presidency. One college president in the family is enough. I enjoy teaching too much to ever give it up. For the briefest moment, Angie's gaze fell away from Malcolm into her lap. When her focus returned to him, he saw an emotion that didn't suit his sister, self-doubt. I felt that way once. This situation isn't your fault. Chasing your dreams isn't an excuse for Sean to chase young, convenient ass. You work long hours. It's the nature of the beast. He's a lawyer who didn't have his firm handed to him. He damn sure knows what hard work and long hours look like and the impact they have on a marriage. I know. It all matters though. Everything in marriage matters, even the stuff we don't realize or think about. Enough about me. She waved her hand in front of her face as if giving the right of way to a pedestrian crossing against the light. Why are you running after a woman who doesn't want to be caught or even chased? She wants both, but doesn't know it yet. Angie spoke volumes through her snort, so he added, I'm not being arrogant or foolish. The fact that you chose those words is more telling than if I would have said them. I knew you were thinking them. I spared you the time and another snort of disapproval. She likes me, I think. You think? She likes the way I look. I'm 37 for God's sake. I know when a woman finds me attractive, and she does. You would have to be blind not to. You've always been too handsome for your own good. That saying has never made any sense, no matter how many times you've said it to me. Oh, it makes plenty of sense. Ask, what's the name of the poor woman you want me to help you stalk? I'm not going to stalk her. Her name is Dr. Sky Ellis. She's the new director of diversity and inclusion at Eastern Bluebird College. How do you even know she's going to attend this summer leadership retreat? Angie shook the trifold brochure at him. You also don't need me to nominate you. You can self-nominate. Malcolm pointed to himself, chair of an understaffed and struggling department. Angie rolled her eyes, knowing him well enough to anticipate his next words and actions. He pointed at her anyway. President of Excelsior University. Which nomination would have the greater chance of getting me one of the 35 spaces? You want me to use my position to help you get a date? Angie snorted again. Unbelievable. It's not as if I'm not a highly qualified candidate. Highly qualified, yes, but not highly motivated. You could possibly take someone's spot who wants to be there. I do want to be there, right next to Sky. The retreat is intended for instructional leaders who want to improve their leadership skills as they move along their career path. It's not a dating service for the horny and smitten. Is that a no? Yes, the same answer I gave you 10 minutes ago. There's an ethical line here, Eminem, and I won't cross it for something as frivolous as a crush. He hated when she was right, almost as much as he disliked how much he still loved his nickname. I withdraw my other question. I don't want to know how you know she'll be attending the summer leadership retreat. Apply and see what happens. Or just ask Dr. Ellis out. I did. She said getting involved with a colleague wasn't a good idea. Angie's shrug wasn't reassuring, and neither was her response. Well, there you have it then. She doesn't want an office romance, no matter how attractive you think she finds you. His heart clenched from disappointment. His heart clenched, not from disappointment, but with determination. Although Malcolm and Sean were on the outs right now, they'd been close and had a lot in common beyond their love for Angie and the kids. Tenacity for one, charm for another. Sky hadn't ever said she wasn't interested in him, only that an office romance was ill-advised, with the potential for awkwardness and embarrassment when it ends. There, the woman was wrong. She just didn't know it yet. Malcolm pulled his cell from his pants pocket, found Sky's number, and typed a message. We're in the middle of a conversation. Who are you texting? Sky? Jeez, you have her cell phone number? You are stalking her. I'm not. Every member of the Diversity Progress Committee has the cell numbers for the others. I've been a member for years, and Sky's new position is the chair of that committee. A committee meeting is how I found out she received an early acceptance to the leadership retreat. I overheard Sky talking to Dr. Mosby about her acceptance letter. You mean you eavesdropped on her conversation with a colleague? Angie tisked, an upgrade in judgment from her snort. If you want to get all technical and judgmental about it, then yes. When he'd finished typing the message, Malcolm ended it with a romantic emoji. He'd downloaded the stickers to his phone a few weeks earlier and had waited for the perfect time to begin using them. He didn't want to scare Sky off, so he didn't send anything too forward. But he also wanted to make his intentions clear, so he added an image of two emoji facing each other and sharing a spaghetti noodle. Okay, the noodle did loop over a dinner plate in a heart design, and two small red hearts were between the smiling male and female emojis. Tenacious and charming, yes. Subtle, not so much. Let me see what you wrote. Now who's being nosy? Malcolm joined Angie on the sofa and handed her his phone. He watched her read the short message, waiting for a frown or snort. Neither came, to his surprise. Instead, she smiled. This is good. Glad you approve. Do you think it'll work? No, but it's a good start. Angie read the message again. A very good start. Malcolm took the phone from his sister, reread the text, and then, literally, patted himself on the back. He didn't desire an office romance, although he would take one as a start. At 36, Malcolm wanted to settle down and have everything Sean had taken for granted and nearly thrown away. What he didn't know, but needed to find out, was why the Sky Ellis wanted the same with him. Malcolm read his message again. 16% of people met their spouse at work. The celestial sphere, a dome under which the sun, moon, and stars dance and sing in cosmic harmony, is an astrological phenomenon eclipsed only by the limitations of our vision and the gravity of our fears. So that's it. That's the first section of the perks of higher ed. And again, I think it frames the Styles of Love trilogy nicely. So the first book in the series is The Perks of Higher Ed and Office Romance. The second book is The Wish of Christmas Present. And the third and final book is The Gift of Second Chances, Angie and Sean's story. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the series.